water bowl or hug the food bowl. Or one of our cats did that a while ago and it ended up that she had diabetes. I think Blazer's just lazy. Alright, best of 3 for the final qualification spot of ASUS ROG. In the top right... Oh shit. Top right! He is Alpha X's Astrea. And the only North American representation left. He has been for quite a few rounds. Scarlet had joined in, but she actually lost against Thermal almost right off the bat, and then didn't play the lower bracket. So, Astrea has been holding strong for USA, especially, this entire time. Got kind of close in the European one, or the Korean one, I forget which one, but he actually has been performing very well. In the bottom left, though, we have the blue Terran Byun, Team Rebellion, Shopify Rebellion, and he is the defending ASUS ROG champion. So for him not to make it through would be quite the surprise. One, I think if you look at the names, most people be like, Byun's got this in the bag, man.
Apparently you are doing something right,
to the more articulate pinkies out type of StarCraft 2 fans who actually give more than a mere thought to the player names, might be like, actually, Astrea's pretty good, and he did just beat a couple of good Terrans. But even then, you gotta admit that Byun has proven more capable of winning in more high-stress situations, more prestigious tournaments. So you still have to give a bit of a nod to Byun. And 2, the reason why you would believe Byun would win is that it is very typical for Koreans to win North American qualifiers. Astrea having won it instead of Scarlet or Neeb, because Neeb was invited, would be surprising in the past. Not anymore. But even then, even if Neeb and a Scarlet, I just mixed their names up, had both had to try and qualify, but it was still so Korean stacked, you kind of give the nod towards the Koreans based off of 10 years of StarCraft 2 history. So in a way, Astrea is kind of... the odds are stacked against him, but in another way, in the actual purely StarCraft 2 gameplay way, I actually think Astrea is playing better PvT than Byun is playing TvP. But, you know, I'm also a bit loopy and a bit tipsy, so, like, maybe I'm crazy. Byun is going for one of his cheeky builds. Little Marauder slow opener, hoping to catch a unit coming across the map. That would be hope number 1. Aha, gotcha. You had an adept, you had a stalker, I killed it, aha! Hope number 2 is that Astrea doesn't actually send any unit across the map and then gets completely surprised by the Marauder. The last thing that Byun wants is for the adept to not be caught, scout the push, and then proceed to be able to do nothing effective with it. That said, if nothing comes out of this, then it's not actually that much of a problem for Byun. He still goes into his 3 racks, he still adds on stim, because Marauder slow is very cheap, very fast, and he still gets another push potential if Astrea is not careful, so... Astrea does have to take it rather seriously. He will have to, quote-unquote, waste supply, or resources, rather, on shield batteries, but shield battery singular is totally acceptable. Totally. And he will just proceed on to his Blink and Robo. Thank you, Kamikaze, for the 11-month resub. So far, so good for Astrea's response. Defends rather well against something that could have been a lot scarier. But it is kind of a situation where it's like, oh, okay, you passed that test, but there's still a final exam to go through, basically. And Byun is not worse for wear for trying to test him with a pop quiz. And then proceeded to go into a third Nexus. Had Astrea, for some reason, stubbornly held to like a 4-gate idea despite his scouts. Jesus, jeez. Just disappointed with a $200 donation. My goodness, dude. That is so much for tomorrow's meow mix. Well, Blazer did just eat about $100 worth. Keep up the quality content, dude. Can't thank you enough, honestly. That is more than I'll probably make in many months of streaming. I don't think I've ever gotten this much support in a month. Not recently. So everyone, make sure to thank Just As Appointed for being super, super awesome. Oh! Almost lost the soccer. Probably will lose the soccer. Tap. There you go. But yeah, if Astrea had gone stubbornly towards a 4-gate against a 3-racks, he would have been in some trouble. But having gone for a 2-gate expand with a... Oh, 3-gate actually, with 3rd gate added on just now, I think he's quite safe. He's kind of playing that very tiny... Wait, nope, can't think of the right words. And he's walking that line. He's walking that tightrope. He's playing defensive enough to make sure that Byun gets no easy victories, but then also still playing macro enough that Byun doesn't win because he made Astrea over-defend. Which is going to be a hard line to walk. Another force field's going to be necessary. Oh, Byun actually making the bigger mistake there. By pushing the issue, he just got cut in half, and Astrea takes an easy, simple victory, moves on to his Colossus, now adds his Forge, right? Like, maybe his upgrades aren't super fast, not at all, actually. As Byun starts his +1 armor, Astrea will have maybe, like 30 seconds where he's behind completely by 2 upgrades. Unless he, like, chronos the hell out of this. And maybe not. Astrea's not out of the woods yet. He still has to worry about Byun's ability to split his units, but thanks to that little cutoff of the force field, he has to worry about slightly less units. This is totally fine. This is A+ defense. Astrea is actually... He's very capable of playing the weird games, the ones where he or his opponent makes some risky decisions and it just gets topsy-turvy. But he's really showing in this past week of qualifiers that he's also capable of playing an almost stats-like defensive game. Just everything you see from him is like, that was just perfect enough. That was the exact right option. I'm not saying he's playing perfectly, but just that it's very impressive to watch a cool, calm, collected Protoss after you watch a Protoss who's not, or you try to play Protoss. And then you start to respect these little tiny things that look easy, but actually are very easy to mess up. Very easy to mess up. A bit of a concave potential for the Terran here. It's not the best situation for the Protoss to move into. Astrea doesn't lose much for the attempt. He is starting to lose out in the resources lost, but by such a manageable degree. Looks like Astrea might have bought into the Max Packs theory of PvT. Some pretty quick Dark Shrine blink on the way. Only on 3-base saturation, when for so many other Protosses, it's like a 4-base saturation thing, or even longer. We've had games where Protoss just simply don't go for Dark Shrine, despite 20-30 minutes having gone by. Good split from Astrea right now. Byun is trying his best to find weaknesses, but just can't so far. Oh, well, what you doing there, buddy? What you doing there, Colossus? What you doing? Waiting for my friends. Okay, you do you. Astrea does have some nice coverage on the map. 2 observers well placed with a pylon on the right side and a pylon on the left. He does see most things. The one thing he doesn't see is this little pathway here, which is why most of his army's there, so pretty good. DT harassment is looking to start, but it looks like Byun has just predicted this. Nice prediction from Byun. Missile turrets are already there. Astrea once again biting off a bit more than he can chew by pushing into Byun there, but it's all good. And now Byun has equal upgrades with his opponents. Not getting into 2-2. Really does have to find some damage. He's got like 4 Vikings, but he never went up to a 2nd starport. He doesn't even have any of his 3rd gases, so it's not like he can afford Vikings and Ghosts. He actually has surplus gas, but he's just can't afford it with minerals that he's pumping into bio units right now. Tons of DTs find a little hit squad of reinforcements, rather. And only 2 DTs went down there? Okay, another scan's used, but DT blinks available. Astrea also looking for a Byun that's not paying attention. If Byun had gone chasing waterfalls there, would have been bad news for his tanks. Oh, but bad news for Byun. Astrea's got a Warp Prism in the main base. Tons of charge, lots of single DT get in there. Some units are available and a really nice pull from the SCVs to body block, but main engagement is happening. DTs come from behind or blink on top of the army. Not sure which one happened, but you know the Disruptors didn't really get any good shots. 2 Colossus still alive, and 1 is almost dead, but not quite thanks to the shield battery overcharge. Finally, the other one, the healthy one, goes down, but the weak one stays alive. Charge light reinforcements come in, but Astrea, it looks like a lot of things about his game have gone very well, but the one fairly consistent thing is that when he thinks he can take the engagement, he is not totally correct. And that was the biggest issue. This was the biggest problem of this 30-second little interval here. Like, his harassment was decent, even though it didn't do a whole lot. Probably wasn't worth the warp in. But to combine it with a bit of a failed bust is what's concerning. Disruptor numbers are getting awfully scary, but Colossus numbers are now all entirely gone. 1 Disruptor shot gets a pretty good shot. The rest of the Disruptors kind of making the army spread out so much. The Zealot DTs are able to get a ton of shots without being shot at. Always a neat little side effect of dealing with Disruptors at the Terran. You can feel like an absolute baller boss dodging the Disruptors, thinking that you're some type of Matrix, Neo shit, whatever. But if Zealots and DTs are ripping you apart, you're basically dodging all the bullets like the Matrix, but some guy's like hacking off your leg while you do it. It's not comfy. Full disclosure, I don't actually like the Matrix. I have not watched it since it probably released. I don't remember the guy's name. Anywho, Astrea. This is where Astrea, I think, really gets stylistically different than other Protosses. He will push when other people would be like, no, this doesn't work out. Because if he ever gets surrounded, which is very possible when you're aggressive like this, he is in a ton of trouble. Even a decent concave, I think Byun could win the fight. Astrea is going to respect that Byun is now aware of what he's doing, so he's going to recall out. The way that Astrea plays, I do believe, is kind of a bit dependent on the Terran kind of also in a being still in a gotta go fast type of move, right? Like they're trying to split, multitask, be out on the map, do the Terran thing. And Astrea's push outs, I think, are trying to capitalize on that. But then if it turns out the Terran isn't and they're actually just chilling, then that's when Astrea can be in a bad spot. But yeah, good recall there. Astrea's on 5 bases, 73 probes to Byun's 3 bases, 58 workers. 4th base only just now starting. This does seem like a game that Astrea is bound to win. Byun has to win one heck of a fight. He does have an EMP upgrade. He does have a Doom drop going into the main. But Byun's also now behind 2 full upgrades, so it's tough. It's very tough. Byun's gonna find 1 Colossus, but the rest of the army's already here. And Astrea still has enough vision on the rest of the map to know that the other army is not responding yet. Now he sees the other army and knows he has to get over there. But ooh, actually a single drop in the natural is being surprisingly annoying. Hitting out the right time there. Astrea might go ahead and lose his 4th base by the looks of things. He's going to be a bit late to defending. A couple of DTs are warped in, but against EMPs, against scans, they won't last very long. I think they're there to clean up the remnants of the Terran army. Actually, Byun's not paying attention. Oh, because he was trying to pay attention to the main fight. But even that was too late. Disruptors laying just a bunch of blood on the floor as all of the bio gets wiped. Byun now with no options. He's behind economically. Well, not right now, actually, but he will be if he gets Astrea in a few seconds, and he's also about to have trouble on his doorstep. That is a decent number of Protoss units. Actually, not the best Protoss army, though. The Disruptors are lagging behind. Byun takes out 1 Nexus, which actually means that the potential of a future economic lead for Astrea is being reduced. He did just kill 12 SCVs, though, so he does keep the lead. 4 bases to 3. Byun has yet to put his command center over. He's going to go for the left as opposed to the right. A bit surprised by that, actually. Astrea also going to continue expanding to the left. Supply is still pretty even, but Astrea has that 2-2. His army quality is just better. He still has access to those DTs, so he's going to be forcing Byun to save at least some of his mules in his scans. It's supposed to be a tougher game for the Terran from here on out. Not impossible, but certainly tougher. Thank you, Des Demure, for the Prime sub. Oh god. Oh, the disruptors. Oh, getting all the tanks. Nice, nice, nice. I mean, I'm sure some people are going to point out, oh, another great disruptor shot, that Byun is working with worst ping? Worst ping? I can English well. But I actually would blame at least half of these bad disruptor shots on simply Byun having to multitask, right? Astrea is pushing and pulling him, always dropping, always doing something else, or Byun is trying to do something else. He's never all focused on the main push. So the disruptors are just doing their job. Astrea now has a 20 supply lead, of which almost all of it, pretty much all of it, is in workers. And Astrea's got the 5th base up, working on more disruptors, War Prism's still alive.
Thank you for your monetary support.
Astrea has been in the lead in a lot of this PvT. But even saying that sounds weird. It's like, really? Astrea? The North American kid? Really? Okay, alright. But Astrea really has proven to be one of the best players in the world. He's not just a domestic hero. And in particular, the last week, I've been very impressed with his PvT. And to be honest, I mean, I love watching Byun. I think he's a really fun player, and I think he can really turn it on and be excellent, but I've not necessarily been that impressed with Byun. He's basically playing up to a decent expectation, but he's not blowing my mind like, he did back in 2016. Which, it's hard to do. Oh, another disruptor shot. There you go, GG. Just disappointed with 25 bucks. What could a Matrix Trilogy DVD cost? $25? But people tell me the second and third movie aren't even worth watching. Who buys DVDs anymore? Thank you for that. Sometimes, though, to kind of continue my point about the player differences, skill differences, sometimes, you think one player is playing better than the other if you compare their individual matches. And you're like, well, I was more impressed by that guy, and not as impressed as this guy. But then it's hard to memorize who each of them were facing. So theoretically, Astrea could have been facing a bunch of 5.5k players, and of course he looks really good against them. And Byun's playing against the 7k GSL winners. Of course he looks okay against them. But I don't even think that's the case. I think they both played a variety of skills and matchups, and I've still been a little more impressed with Astrea's PvT. Yeah. Now I have a game that is between him and Byun to kind of prove my point. To prove my gut instinct correct. That was a well-played game. Bottom right of Romanicide, we have Alpha X's Astrea. Top left, it is Shopify's Byun. Rebunion. No, that didn't work. Never mind. You didn't hear that. Shh. Byun is the defending ASUS ROG champion, but by the looks of things, the young North American Protoss might just be stopping him from making a return visit. Not that he actually went anywhere. The last ASUS ROG was still online for the players, but it doesn't sound as dramatic. It doesn't sound nearly as dramatic when you're like, time to go big or go to your kitchen to sad eat your tears away. No, that is not nearly as good. Who even has anything that can play a DVD? Well, funnily enough, as much as I just made fun of boomers, my current PC is actually one of my old PCs. So I had an old PC that was like this gigantic thing. And then like 6 years ago, I wanted a PC that was a bit smaller so I could actually transport it because I was going to go spend 3 months in Korea. So I bought a smaller PC. I built it, but it was still a smaller PC. And then I was like, well, I don't really want to get rid of my old PC in case I ever want to use it. Because I basically just built it from the ground up. Didn't steal any parts. They was all out of date anyways. Jeez Louise! 10,000 bits fined and buy the Blu-ray? Oh man. I hope you can still pay your kids' college tuition. Thank you. I guess now I have to watch The Matrix. I guess it's a way to pass the time on the airplane. But anyways, my story is going to end with the fact that I have brought my old PC out of storage, taken the parts out, but looked at the DVD player and thought, why not just keep it? So I actually have a DVD player because this case is like 10 years old. That's my story. I hope you liked it. One base build from Byun. I mean, if this was another Terran player, if this was like... You know what? I actually can't think of another one. I don't think this is desperation. Maybe another player in another race and another matchup. Something like this would be desperation. But no, I think Terrans are, especially Korean Terrans, are definitely incorporating one base builds back in. Problem is, they have to do damage. They really have to. Man, when you start off with a build like this, you're kind of hoping that you're up against the build it wants to be up against. There's not much you can do with it that's going to force... I don't know what's the best way to put this. As always, StarCraft 2 is about mechanics. Astrea could absolutely mess up this defense, but it feels like Byun would kind of hope that Astrea was going for another Twilight Council opener, right? So his Robo's a bit later, so his Observer's a bit later. But Astrea saw the one base opener with a factory at least, and actually just said, I'm going to play it super safe. I'm going to go for a 2-base Robo. If it's nothing that I actually need the Robo for, I guess I'll go maybe into Colossus. But if it is, then, well, this is actually Hellions, not Wood Mines. I looked at that armory, and I just assumed it was Wood Mines. That is my bad. A Hellion drop actually does want to kind of go up against the Robo opener. My bad. He does have 4 Wood Mines. They just came out after the Hellions. Okay. Reconfigure, rewind. The Robo opener is great versus something like a Wood Mine drop because you can pull away the probes, bring them back once the Wood Mines are dead. Boom, you got it. Against a Hellion drop, you don't have that many units. And they don't have blink. They can't chase it down. They can't chase after it. So the Hellion drop, I feel like actually wanted to be up against that. And it does kill a decent number of workers. 9 have already gone down. The Wood Mines, though, theoretically shouldn't do any more damage. They actually, theoretically, don't even have to get a probe. Because an Observer is out, there's no reason to let your probe be sacrificed. But it looks like the Observer is busy. Oh my god, that's a big pull away. Oh, because he pulled it into the... Okay, gotcha. So the Wood Mines don't do a ton of damage, right? So that ends up being a fairer trade than what could have been a snowball effect. So Hellions do damage. Wood Mines don't do damage. There you go. What is that? My mom just handed me candy and baby cupcakes. Do I choose one? Thank you, Mom. They do look pretty good. So, back to the game. Astrea, having kind of evened things up in a way by not taking any further damage from the Widow Mine drop, has actually, I think, gotten a good position. Because everything really could have gone shitty for him real quick with a build like that from Byun. Really. Could have been more damage from the Hellions, could have been a mishandling of the probes, and then he is just dead. But as it is, Byun, I feel like, did enough damage to warrant the one base build, but didn't actually get that much of a lead. A little bit, perhaps, as we see the income in favor of Byun, but I actually don't think it's that much. Maybe it even isn't, because the stim only just started. Astrea is going to have a 3rd Nexus and triple Chrono very soon on the probes. He's going to have Colossus tech, a bit of harassment with the War Prism. My Terran bias against Protoss kind of makes me think this is Protoss favored, but if I try to think of it from a Protoss point of view... I'd be concerned. Well, no, he actually got a scout. He saw the timing of the barracks. And it's Romanicide, which, you know, is going to give benefit to the defensive player, which is currently Astrea. I'm going to hold my judgment until the next attack. Yeah, let's put it that way. Raven's currently being tracked by the Observer and a couple of Stalkers. But Astrea should have a shield battery over here soon. Oh, it's not done. It's not done. Looks like Byun's not going to quite hit that timing anyways. Oh, drop in the main. Wouldn't mind kills 8 more probes. That is very nice. That was actually tucked into the corner this entire time. Very nice. Puts Byun now only down by 5 workers, which is very good for the Terran. Astrea's starting to really mishandle this. He's not mining at all. He's trying to build cannons, auto turret harassment, and the natural is actually mining only off of this base. Ooh, things are getting dangerous. Byun using everything in his power, all of his tools, to start to really pull Astrea apart. And then kind of miss micros. Alright, well, you do you, Marines. You go over to that natural. You do you. You do you! Okay. The natural that already had the probes pulled. Oh, and Astrea actually broke the engagement. Shit. I was making fun of the Marines. Astrea actually pushes Byun's entire army back. He clears up the tanks. He pushes the army back after dealing damage to it, so it's weakened. And Astrea manages to breathe at this point. That was very hectic. That's the type of situation that I've seen a lot of Protosses crumble against. Or feel a necessity to all in from, and they do. They've lost too much. This situation still isn't fantastic for Astrea, as he is behind in workers at this point, but I think he could recover. He's been in worse situations before. Byun, though, despite being pushed back, having lost his tank, should still feel very in control of this game. He did a lot of damage. His 3rd CC's up. His 1-1 is on the way at a similar time to Astrea. Not that he really knows that, but... I think Byun's okay. War Prism comes in, though, looking for kind of a same deal, a little bit of harassment, a little bit of distraction. Astrea is not going to try and push the issue with his main army, though, just letting the War Prism die. He's going to recall it, actually. Yep, recall's available. We're just going to let the War Prism do its own singular thing.
Thank you for your monetary support.
Damn. Candy and cupcakes, why not both? Another $200. In total, I feel like you've donated almost $1,000. I just want to make sure you know that. I don't want you going broke. And thank you. I'll have to buy my mother cupcakes in return with that money. And let's be real, sometimes these, like, designer cupcakes can be quite expensive. Big old push from Byun coming in. Supplies are even. Army and workers even. Not a good sign for Astrea in the long run, as he also loses 6 probes here. But a workable sign. He could work this out. Raven still alive is a bit concerning too. A couple interference matrix. And an anti-armor missile could change things up. Astrea playing to the 3 base for as long as possible is probably the best move. He is going to move out here. There's no EMPs yet, so this might actually be the best timing to do so, while his Archons still have the most power, but then he pushes into a concave with the interference matrix, and that's a little bit more than he can actually push into, so he's forced to cancel a Nexus. Not the worst cancel. 100 minerals gone, yes, but at least it was canceled. And it wasn't like it was, you know, almost done. So he'll, acknowledge, okay, maybe I was a little too fast on that one. Okay, my bad. And then just takes the Nexus actually elsewhere. Tutu's on the way for Byun as Astrea finally starts up his armor, plus his weapons. The EMPs are actually looking mighty dangerous at this point. Astrea does not have disruptors quite yet. 1. He's got 1. It's going to be scanned, not that there's much you can do about it. Well, actually, Byun's going to try and force the issue. Target fire. Brings the Vikings forward. Shield battery's there to save the Disruptor. One Colossus goes down. 2. And the third one's also a goner. And it looks like Astrea might also be a goner. Disruptors aren't getting any shots whatsoever. 2 more just pop. They need beautiful shots. One of them is going to hit. And the second one also hits pretty damn well. But is it enough? Vikings not going to choose to land here. Which means the Stalkers could go ahead and chase a little bit as well. Byun not willing to bank everything on that push. Does wisely back away. Especially because he was dealing with some Zealot harassment. Looks like the Zealots don't do a tremendous amount of damage. But I think they killed not only these SCVs, but perhaps a bit of reinforcements. Astrea striking back with the help of Disruptors. And that was all defense while his 4th base was building, by the way. That's big. Byun still only on 3 bases. His 4th does start up. 2nd starport as well. His 2-2 is almost done. He will have an upgrade lead for like 45 seconds. But Astrea has lived 2 Disruptors. And as much as I was saying, you know, at least half of those last Disruptor hits in the last game weren't really ping-based, it's no doubt that ping is going to affect Byun's ability to micro and thus his decision-making against the Disruptors. So, in general, I think this is a good move. Offline, same server, what have you, but certainly, especially, when other guy is playing with a ping disadvantage. Byun's not really going to find this upgrade timing I was talking about. I don't think so. He's actually simming into this, but I don't think as much is going to come from it. Forces out 2 Disruptor shots. 3rd one goes. Astrea might actually be regretting the 2 shots at once, but it looks like everything's fine. 2 Colossus are on the way as well, so giving his army the stability that it's missing when it's only Disruptors. His 4th Nexus back up in mining. Byun finally getting his 4th command center. Not able to start 3-3 as he tries to afford ghosts. Probably going to try and afford more Vikings. Disruptors finding a handful of, well, nothing, really. It's just the fact that the army was there, too. Now, Astrea should be wary of the other army being somewhere. In this case, it's a Viking army. It's going to find a Colossus, funnily enough, while the Vikings are grounded. Oh, nope, they lift. There we go. But the Colossus is not going to be as vulnerable as I thought. It's good. Byun's going to turn his command center into a planetary. Does find the resources to start his 3-3, as Astrea also works his way to 3-3. Vikings landing, killing some probes, killing some assimilators. The Zealots are going to be able to clean that up. And actually a very good split so far from Astrea. Very appropriate split. Byun can kite all he wants from this, yes. But that's a lot of action for not a lot of reward. So he lists his Vikings, saves them for what he realizes is now, once again, Colossus. As the Protoss want to beat bop back and forth. Colossus yes, Colossus no, depending on their Viking count. And for Byun, he wants to make sure to never really overmake Vikings. So I think maybe like 4 more would be warranted, but then again... Okay, he is. Actually, kind of an awkward fight. Astrea was just move commanding, didn't realize that Byun was going to take the fight there. And Byun might have regretted that fight if Astrea was paying attention. That wasn't really a healthy army supply against what Astrea had. Now he's collected his forces. Upgrades in favor of Astrea here. His +3 attack was faster. He's starting to set up his army in multiple attack points while defending a now 5th base. Grabs a medevac for free. He's going to get Warp Prism, Dark Shrine, more Archons, even getting the Plasma Shields at this point. Byun sees the gigantic Zealot run by, but has no bunker to help stop it. And only a handful of reinforcements also collided with the Protoss army in the middle of the map when he wasn't paying attention by the looks of things. Forced to just lift off and save what he possibly can. There's an army that takes on the Zealots, yes, but that is also an army that is now significantly out of position. Astrea is sharking around in the middle of the map, looking for another victory, looking for some idle units. Doesn't find any, but he does find a building command center. A very bold move right there. A single stalker was able to cancel that. Byun should be sweating at this point. He's had times where I think he was straight up ahead. I think he absolutely still has a chance to win this game. Totally. But I feel like Astrea has actually found himself in a very comfy position for Protoss. 5 bases, rich Vespian Geyser, almost completed on his most important upgrades, 3-3. And he's getting DT Blink. Oh, Byun might have to play into the Liberator game. It's a decision that every Terran has to make. It's not just simple as like, I make Liberator now. But I think he might have to. Unless he can really start to pull Astrea apart. Ooh, big drop into the natural, but that is a decent amount of supply left over. Yeah, that's not gonna work for Byun. Oh, and he even loses the medevac to the Archon hit. I think Byun has got to add on more technology. This is actually getting really scary. Because the other thing is that, you know, might happen is that Byun might be like, well, I can remax, I can rebuild, I can continue pushing Astrea, but at some point Astrea is going to feel confident to push into him. And when Byun's backed into a corner with no room to micro, that's when disruptors are even better than they have been. So that's always a fear, and that's usually when a Terran player needs liberators, because not only are they being pushed into a corner, not able to get the best micro or concaves, it's also when the Protoss player starts to send units in their direction every which way. DTs to the right, army to the left, disruptors to the middle. And liberators are really the safest, most dependable option when that starts to happen. Trying to micro against what Astrea is doing right now is super, super difficult. And to be frank, liberators take away the need to micro. You just set them and mostly forget them. With sensor towers, you can kind of forget them as long as the giant red blob isn't headed towards them. If it's just a handful of zealots or DTs, they'll be fine. But Byun might be getting +2 ships. He's not on his way to a fusion core. He's not on his way to any liberators. He can still make this composition and style work, especially as he finds maybe a couple of disruptors, but you know, it's... Oh my god, those are a lot of EMPs. Holy shit. The Zealots, though, despite being without shields, do get a wraparound on the Terran army. Some micro still has to be had here. But even that might not be enough. Disruptor is going to be with a shot soon enough as the rest of Byun's army comes forward. Now it's Astrea's turn to be a little scared. He does have the bank to remax, but the Disruptor is not getting their beautiful shots like before. Or at least managing to buy some time. Another Disruptor shot's going to buy even more time, and Astrea is going to use that bank that he's accrued. Byun on 5 bases, 53 workers, isn't in a terrible spot quite yet, but he's got to carry forward the momentum here. DT Blink not going to be used because the Disruptors are going to be used instead. Good hits. But when the Disruptors are gone, the DTs are there. Good Disruptor hit number 2. There's the DTs that I was talking about. But not really the most successful Blink forward, actually. Byun handled that really well. Astrea is going up to a 6th base with a 20-worker lead. Continuing to add on those upgrades. At this point, the ship weapons really aren't important. I mean, the Vikings are landed, I guess, but... Disruptor count's still at a pretty healthy 7. One just popped. Byun is now trying to focus intensely on a single fight, which means that Astrea is going to be getting away with this base. And Byun kind of has to focus on this fight. Because if he doesn't, not only will Disruptors hit, but then he'll have to retreat back into what is actually an orbital as his 5th. That's his main command center. Seems like Astrea has just played the overall better PVT. "20 minutes of this game. I think Byun had like 8 minutes of victory time, of feeling confident, of feeling he can do it, but actually a lot of it at this point has been more Astrea favored with his bank, with his technology, but all it takes is one good fight maybe to turn the tides. Took 3 Disruptor shots, but one was finally good. Still going to be a loss of a base, but Byun then loses his orbital. And every orbital loss is a chance for DTs to win a potential base race. I'm talking about 20 DTs with an orbital lost, 1 orbital lifted. And Byun eventually will be out of luck, even with the EMPs. He's going to tap out, realizing he cannot win this game. And Astrea does 2 things. He wins a North American qualifier that is stacked with Koreans, a rarity in StarCraft 2, even with the likes of Neeb and Scarlet playing. And 2, he knocks out the defending ASUS ROG champion.